Mic check. 1 2 1 2. CTM. What a joy to be back here with you all. Missing you Thursday and Friday. Thursday was a session of all sessions. I wish I was here with you, traveling out there, making some turns, and I thought like I didn't think Bitcoin would go under 60,000. We were printing 59,000. That was absolutely wild. And just because I didn't think that Bitcoin could go under 60,000 doesn't mean that the low is in. Let's take a look at it all. We'll start off with our positioning, which got a little bit hectic. It looked like it Thursday morning that the short on MicroStrategy was a nice, sweet short as it was riding well into profit. And then after running 13% into profit, smashed back the other way, taking a full stop loss. And then the other thing we have going on stocks is right now a pending long on NVIDIA, tech, NASDAQ, equities. Looked like they're holding in pretty well. I'm just going to go ahead and it's the same line we're tracking over here. This is probably like, I don't know, the second breakdown we have. This would be the third breakdown if we lose this line over here. But you could see that it wound up being a perfect hold into the low on Friday. And what too soon to tell whether or not we're setting up here a lower high that's going to ultimately break down. I think we break down again. Good chance that we take out this little bit of support and then wind up heading into a pocket below. But we'll look at that a little bit further. Right now, NASDAQ here. Let me just go ahead and see where repair looks like. I don't know. It looks like a little bit of a broadening wedge. We got a lot of work to do before seeing some type of, let's say, run at the all-time high again. It felt really oversold. Some people were asking as we continue here positions. By the way, just a peek at CTM X V2 continuing here to right now just knock on the door of roaring in the bliss again on Bitcoin. Pretty close on Ethereum, and Cardano still trying to make back all the wreckage that Trump caused with those reckless tweets. Um, some people were saying, Vakin, that's like, well, that was a tremendous. It looked like a capitulation event, and I'm not so sure. Maybe I hope so, but we don't know. And you know what? Like, it was pretty clear that things were extendedly oversold, and some people were asking, in those situations, do I just take profit? And you can see over here, so Bitcoin over here exiting this last trade was able to lock in 14%. It's a great move over here, great trade, but it was 25% into profit. And some people are wondering, should I be exiting like a discretionary exit? And I mean, the truth is that that opens a whole can of worms. Bringing a discretionary element into your mechanical trading changes everything. And it's not to say that for some that's not the right thing to do, but for the most it wouldn't be. Once you introduce that discretionary element, all the time you're going to be taking discretionary overrides, and maybe some will work out for you, but over time likely not. We're playing the long game. And if you just rewind not too long ago, I think I could pull it up. I'm looking for a little bit of not too long ago, people were like, come on, this is like, what are we doing here? You know, like Bitcoin up and to the right, and Bitcoin bull run's not outperforming. And now, hello, look back and they're like, oh, okay. And same thing with everything else. Whether you're looking here at V2, yeah, that like 2025 was terrible. I mean, Bitcoin was down on the year. We were like just not underperforming our expectations. But now you look back and you're like, oh, now I understand the value of knowing when to be in the market, when out, and on what side. And I think that if people, for the majority, begin to introduce some type of discretionary element into their trading, into their mechanical trading, I don't know if it's going to work out. Now, would it make a lot of sense for most people to have their mechanical trading automated, and then alongside of that be tracking what a portfolio would look like if they were discretionary overriding it? Some of you guys are really talented. And then, yeah, that makes sense. As it makes sense for many, right, to be, discretionary trading, working out their skills and abilities. That's mostly done through the futures markets, but it could be done on crypto as well. I know some people who do it on Bitcoin and Ethereum. But yeah, I think that, you know what? You didn't get the max, but it was just a solid move. Ethereum over here was also up 45% on the short side. Now, if you go back and you look historically, I'm interested. So I just want to take a look with you really quick, and we'll go back to all the way to 2016. And I was going to look at the short side so I could see the max short trade that's ever been realized. And dun-dum-bum-bum. So the largest, they change. I mean, every day it seems like TradingView changes everything. So average winning trade on the short side, 9%. Obviously, this current trade is 35% open unrealized gains, so it's a little bit more than the max. The largest winning trade was 51%. So does it make sense if you're looking over here to lock in 45? I don't know. Is this current open trade going to potentially here? I don't know where. I don't know. Is the move over? Was that the bottom? How do you know? I don't know. Are we gonna wind up taking some profit, or is this gonna roll over? Um, you know, what a wild ride we've seen. Um, See, there you go. Some people, I mean, dialed in and extremely talented. Really. By the way, it's great to see everyone and be here with you all. Thanks for getting back over here. And then we're looking at Cardano, a bit choppy, but good. Taking up 10%, losing 9%, but working our way up. And that's great. That's what we do. You never know which trade is going to go ahead and run like this current open Ethereum trade. And yeah, potentially there's a good deal given back over here still. You never know when, and that's the idea of that mechanical edge. I like the idea of people running it, fully automated, see what and then using that as the benchmark, and then in a different portfolio trading discretionary against it. And likely there'll be times that you outperform. I'm not so sure in the long run, but potentially for sure. And there's where we are right now on our open positions, and a little bit of a recap of the crazy volatility that we've seen. And by the way, not in the flow yet. Maybe tomorrow. Definitely by Wednesday. We have over here NVIDIA pending long right now for potential long tomorrow. And yeah, RSI was through the roof. And that was an event that you rarely seen. Um, yeah, you never know. It's, incredible, incredible. If we revisit, like, I don't want to revisit it, but if we just talk about it really briefly, if you remember, not too recently, there was that tweet about like the RSI being oversold, and that means that Bitcoin's going to 180 in X amount of days. And we were kind of like, I don't know. It depends if you're in a bull market or if you have massive downward momentum. We looked at both, and it turns out that that was just a post of poor taste. But anyway, so, you know, here we are. We've so far bounced off of our lower area of support. Is that it? Are we going to be able to now recover and by the summer be making new all-time highs? Or are we going to take out that? We all know the playbook that we've had as a guide suggested that, and this could have been the low. We broke down though, and that looks like a major bearish continuation pattern. A lot of people think that the possibility is open that we sweep these lows again, make another leg down. I'm completely open to it. Could very much happen, or we could just, similar to the last time we were here, even make one more lower low and just free up some liquidity. There's been a massive reset. I don't know what the books look like today, but on Friday, all of the leverage longs were completely wiped out, and then you saw like a minuscule amount re-enter, and shorts were a full book. So it would be interesting, and maybe a lot of them gotten wiped out since on that massive 12-13% day we saw on Friday. And we are just looking little Bitcoin and ISM. Let's go ahead and take a look over here and just feel our way in. Get back in. I might have missed something over here, so let me just take a look over here. We see that Peter Brandt, this guy, like, he's dead against you trading futures on props. Anyway, he said that he's looking at ZT, what I thought was going to be into the next, I gave it 18 months though, didn't we? The trade, the ultimate opportunity. And since then, it's really just consolidated massively. Peter's looking at this and he's like, this is getting ready for a moon shot. And maybe ultimately it's going to resolve as we expected. We know that we have a lot of, there's that chart over there. I just saw it. I guess it's being shown again. There's a lot of talk that the new nominated Fed chair, Wash, is going to be looking at, just in the same way that the U.S. Treasury has been rolling over and issuing short-term debt, that the Fed is going to be absorbing that and just focused on buying short-term debt and leaving the long end alone. And if that happens, what are the ramifications? Some questions that should be asking. I wonder if that would if that indeed was happening, if the ramification was that we see long duration continue to sell off and ultimately break above here. It could happen. Are we going to see, therefore, a bid into the short end? Are we going to see the 2-year break out as our expectations were? And again, the expectation is that as the new Fed chair, assuming it's Wash, takes the seat, that they're going to begin actually working towards lowering Fed funds rate. And if so, then ultimately we likely see the resolution. But for me, it's the timing. And I have to say, ultimately, we were probably in the right spot. Timing was likely pretty bad. And likely Peter's timing is a lot better here. So that's pretty true. Listen, Jackson Hole. This is Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And the conditions were extremely unforgiving. I was out there with a friend who used to be in his early 20s, an instructor out in France. He was having a hard time. I've been doing lots of squats and eating lots of sardines. I felt pretty good out there. Legs were strong. I had been to Jackson a few other times, familiar with the mount. They had never skied anything so steep. Jackson Hole is absolutely epic. They're getting a ton of snow this week. They had a major base from early in the season, but conditions were it was like April skiing out there. I loved it, every moment of it. People out there are so incredibly kind, so nice. Great time visiting Wyoming. Loved it. Loved it. Um, boom, bam, boom, bam. Bringing it back over, taking a look at some of the damage. Let's take a review of some charts we have over here. We could see that the orange line has been pierced. Now, on the weekly here, which is, I just left everything as I left it. And here we are. And we're kind of hanging on a thread. Let's take a look at some charts over here and get our bearings. So in hindsight, this is a great moment for a little hindsight. We talked about, it started at 88,000 and ultimately wound up breaking at 91. But we've been talking about and lined that up many months in advance about what the first major de-risk event. It turned out not only was it a major de-risk event, it was an absolute major de-risk event and probably should have been listened to a lot more. Over 30% declined since breaking that first de-risk. I was hoping we would get that meaningful repair. Never translated. Is this the bottom? If you remember, here was the election over here in November, first week of November, and we've taken out the election, pre-election low over here, testing what I thought would be some support. And here we are. Let's find out what's going on. Some people drawing a straight line over there and talking about that. Hey, look, it is over. Anyone calling a bottom of this chart is lying to themselves. Before we look at the rebuttal to that, I just let it be known this is not how I drew my support. They just drawn a line over here, and this is how we've drawn our support. And well, ours still held. I didn't think we would break this line outside of a liquidity event. Let it be known, and we're not having a liquidity event. Now, granted that we are in this phase of liquidity being restored, but yeah, I mean, we thought that it's possible to make a lower low. I think that the extent of the selling on Thursday, a lot greater than I anticipated by a large margin, By the way, if you just take one line over here, pick your line, any line, pick your structure, and you come off of the BitMEX COVID low over here on the very far left of the screen. Interesting that we kind of nailed that over there. Nothing more than interesting. Silver, are we putting in a Wall Street cheat sheet right now? Like, is this I forget what it's called, but like the hope, like, are we going to return to normal? The hope. Gold over here above 5,000 again. Looks similar. And there is a lot of talk, and I think rightfully so, that what you're seeing here is likely, or potentially, especially with the PMIs here rising above 50, that we could be seeing not the rolling over. We could be seeing the gold Bitcoin, the gold bull run at this beginning moment, beginning to now set up the Bitcoin bull run. and we'll find that out. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. So I wanted to look at that too. You're always on point. And if you compare the two, right? And this was the 30, 35, 37, the first flag that's set up after the move down. That's over here. And you had that massive leg down. And this is actually in May. That was like if this was the equivalent of May, and you see over the next few weeks us take out and make another mega low, this would be the equivalent of the 3 hour arrows blow up. It very very much could be in the cards, but I don't know. Well, we're gonna have to find out and make sure that we continue. Just first of all, staying on the right side. There are many others who believe, and also that we're calling for this, that this is actually more mid-cycle correction, and I suppose that would be something like over here. We did over the next 90 days make a new all-time high. Fed pivoted over here, but it doesn't seem like the Fed is going to be soon pivoting towards tightening. Fed this time, if this is a mid-cycle correction, and we're soon over the summer about earlier than anticipated. Many 4-year cycle believers believe like, yeah, like close to the end of the year, you make up the low and then set up the next beginning in the next bull run into 2027. However, mid-cycle correction theorists think by the summer we could be at a new all-time high, and if that's when we're seeing the Fed pivoting over here, yeah, we could see some juice if we get the reacceleration I'm looking for. PMI is suggesting that is what is ultimately going to happen, but I would not get comfortable at all. Yeah, I think gold is the equivalent of Bitcoin, and silver is good for giving out to the kids when they lose their teeth. But you know, we'll have to take. It looks like, and if we're correct, and I think this is a great look, and if indeed we have to get this set up with PMIs, that would be a really good way to look at this. But likely gold, silver are getting ready to enter into a period of accumulation, running sideways. And new Fed chair, someone who's obviously against QE, but listen, it's a Ponzi scheme, and when he needs to return, you're going to see that massive expansion. Let's work our way in throughout the week and revisit that, Brian, for sure. Let's take a continued look over here at these charts. And that was the one I just entered there with you and said, I didn't expect that, or I didn't think that we would break much below 70,000, about the center of this. We took out 60. A lot more than I anticipated over here. I don't know what's going on with this. This is with the channel. We're finding we never even came close to the meaningful repair. The next line that we're setting up now, a black diamond. Not that I'm looking for the recovery. I'm leaning into our templates, but I would expect that this is now resistance, and we got to clear this. So we could see a move into here, and that's likely next into 78. If we don't move further than there, then we could absolutely begin to roll down. Yeah, it looks like the bear market is likely coming to an end on Bitcoin Gold. I don't know. I love it though. So we had obviously the major breakdown of the channel, right? We were looking for what needed to be a meaningful repair. Never took place. That sets up then the conservative breakout that needs to happen for what would then be the new meaningful repair. The new meaningful repair is no longer above here. This is the new conservative breakout, the new meaningful repair. This is a double black diamond that's in place right now. I think that we could even bounce as high into this. If we don't break out, then we have to watch out if we're going to be rolling over, setting up something similar to Michael we were just looking at in 2022. So if we see that move up and not able to break out for that double black diamond, there's a good chance that we roll over and make that lower low. What else? Past the power law floor and into what was my projected floor. Come over and look at that on the daily. Took it out, right? 66. And let me try to get back over here. We don't have the flow yet, but there's an accumulation time over here. If indeed we're looking at, I got a good chart to show you. I'll pull up over here. If indeed we're looking at other people's speculations of what could happen, and again, this I guess I'm much more of the mid-cycle correction. We were talking about just last week, potentially around the summer, trading around 130. And if all that transpires and then they begin that reacceleration, yeah, I think that we're going to see some favorable action. But this aligns more with that past 4-year cycle. And you could see putting in another low. This would be a major leg down. This would be a lot different than what transpired over here in 2019 when they began running the balance sheet up. Yes, Bitcoin made a lower low, and we said, well, we're open to that. That could happen, but then it just made one more lower low, barely making out a low, not an extended leg down, and that was the extent of it. If this just like for my own, if you had the opportunity over here for the next 6 months to be able to accumulate Bitcoin in this range, that's an opportunity that I am grateful for, to be honest. I don't know if this person just posts charts of all different scenarios or not, but you can see coming back over here, I was looking for finding out, trust those who have it or consult those who have a history of getting it right. Prior to the all-time high being put in this area, lining up what the likely scenario was. Interesting, and a lot of symmetry continues to take. I like this chart. This reminds me of gold before its massive, massive move that we've seen. And you can see this is Bitcoin on the monthly, textbook, cup and handle. These patterns don't resolve quietly. When they break, they reprice the asset. Will it happen? There's a lot of similarities that I see over there. And most especially when we look at or talked about what it means uh, when you see gold peak. When we talk about peak, we're talking about peaking, running into a consolidation period before the final or the next massive expansion, and then gold putting in actually its cycle peak sometime after that. That's where I think that we're ultimately headed. Here we are right now. I think right now what we're seeing on this bounce on the metals has a lot to do with we talked about the correlation to the long-term Japan rates 30-40 year, and you can see that they're bouncing. We're selling off a little bit over here. It's a very similar pattern, and yeah, I think it looks to me like that balance of like Wall Street cheat sheet, everything's going to be okay. And it looks to me why I don't believe that there's a rotation from gold investors into Bitcoin necessarily. Could be a little bit. I believe that the rotation, the dynamics do set up big gold bull runs do lead to Bitcoin bull runs. And I think we're getting close to that area. Whether or not we have another lower low or leg down remains to be seen. And we're going to figure that out together. But most of all, we're going to do what we do best, and that is stay on the right side. Absolutely, absolutely. You saw during this volatility over here, crushing it, knowing when to be on the right side. Went out, and by the way, went out refers to all those in CTM trading buy side boost who are absolutely crushing it by taking some small profit early in the year and now is being on the sidelines. Preserving purchasing power is the best feeling out there. And then if you look over here at the old V2 here, once again, kissing the sky, getting ready to roaring the bliss, and Cardano trying to get back to that all-time high. Solana is yet to find its footing, but if we do see a lot of that, well, business cycle acceleration coming over the next, we have to get to the reacceleration first before we begin to look for when that's gonna pan out, or when that's gonna run into that resistance. Retail sales tomorrow. We're watching retail sales. We're watching GDP growth. We continue to watch the capex build out. Everything looks like it is gonna continue to run, and it's just a matter of timing and being on the right side. Y'all, thanks for being here today. We're gonna keep it short and sweet. It's gonna take me a day or two to get back in the flow, but by midweek we will catch our groove and be running hard. Right now, Nvidia pending long for tomorrow, not yet confirmed. Confirmed at the close today. Still holding that Ethereum short, and we're lining it up. Good to see you all, everyone. Have a beautiful day. God bless you, and I'll see you all back on the inside.